Crazy title, but we're going to this. This is how the US will defend the homeland from an invasion. My friends, real talk right now. You have to be them. Well, not you, but you know what I'm talking about. But you have to be them to even think about messing with the US. Now, invading the US... my friends, I think Americans are well prepared. They may not even need the military, but I guess we shall see. Before I go into that, let me ask you for one thing. If you can leave a like, thank you so much. Is the best way to show support. Now, if you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration. Link for the original video in my description, and let's play.
The sky over Seattle glows with fire and panic. At precisely 5:04 a.m., 3 high-altitude EMP detonations blind satellites and knock out the West Coast's power grid. Phones go dead, smart cars freeze mid-commute, and then the real nightmare begins. Cruise missiles, dozens of them, tear across Puget Sound, striking airfields, data centers, and power.
And this is why we need the Golden Dome.
Substations. Drone swarms buzz in from the Pacific, jamming radars and seeking out targets with terrifying precision. As the city...
Okay, sorry, my friends. I know we are at the start of the video. This is just the introduction. But can we agree that America will know a lot of this stuff before it happens? This is basically the worst case scenario, okay?
Buzz in from the Pacific, jamming radars and seeking out targets with terrifying precision. As the city reels, Russian commandos disguised as dock workers launch coordinated attacks on ports and infrastructure. Behind them, a Chinese amphibious force begins offloading troops and armor straight from retrofitted cargo vessels. Surveillance balloons hover high above, like ominous moons, feeding enemy commanders real-time imagery. It is the unthinkable made real. The homeland has been hit. Day 0, 4:30.
Yo, my friends, this is actually so interesting because Russia in one side, China in other side, and America alone. Can America win this? I guess we shall see.
30 a.m. Eastern. It's a normal spring morning when operators at North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD, notice faint blips on the radar screens. High over the Pacific, U.S. infrared satellites detect the telltale heat plumes of multiple missile launches. Within seconds, computers identify them as a wave of incoming cruise missiles and short-range ballistic missiles, likely launched from enemy submarines and disguised cargo vessels positioned in international waters. What no one realizes yet is that this is not just a missile barrage. It is the opening move of a full-scale, coordinated Russo-Chinese invasion of Seattle.
Okay, to be fair, my friends, this is just... we are having fun with this. But I don't think this is totally impossible. I mean, not invading America, but Russia and China making a partnership together to fight America. I think this is actually a scenario that will happen in the future. I still think they will be completely obliterated. But I think they may join forces. Honestly, they are already kind of friends, right? But yeah.
Goal is a rapid surgical bite and hold campaign to seize a foothold on the U.S. mainland. They want to push the American Navy out of the Pacific long enough to establish maritime dominance, and if they play their cards right, a temporary forward base on U.S. soil. Claxons erupt.
Uncle Sam alone defeat boats.
Through NORAD's Cheyenne Mountains Ops Center. This is not a drill. Phone trees and encrypted comms light up. In Washington, D.C., the president is urgently awakened and rushed toward a secure bunker as aides relay the staggering news. Day 0, 4:37 a.m. Eastern. Across the country, just 7 minutes later, Air Force and Air National Guard units spring into action. At least 16 air bases have fighters on strip alert under Operation Noble Eagle, the post-9/11 Homeland Air Defense mission. In Fort Worth, a pair of F-16s soar into the sky before their pilots are even fully awake. From Massachusetts to Hawaii, Ready Alert jets, F-15 Eagles, F-22 Raptors, and FA-18s from Navy stations are air.
What you gonna do when they come for you? My friends, I did not even know that the F-18 was a thing, by the way. But what you gonna do when they come for you? The F-22, the F-15, the F-18.
Born within minutes, vectoring toward potential threat vectors. Their immediate task is to intercept enemy aircraft, shoot down inbound missiles, and identify any possible follow-on threats. NORAD...
Sorry, where is the A-10? The A-10 in this scenario could be amazing. The Heart Walk.
And the FAA jointly issue a national ground stop on all civilian flights, 9/11 style, but this time to clear the skies for what may become a prolonged air war over U.S. soil. Day 0, 4:45 a.m. Eastern. The first wave of missiles slams into the U.S. mainland, or are shot down trying. Aegis-equipped destroyers off both coasts engage with SM-3 interceptors. In Florida, a Patriot battery outside MacDill Air Force Base lights up a cruise missile in a fireball over Tampa Bay. But not everything gets stopped. On the West Coast, the assault is brutal and coordinated. Cruise missiles strike early warning radar arrays in Northern California. Joint Base Lewis McChord outside Tacoma, Washington is hit hard, losing airstrip capacity.
Okay, my friends, what the hell is this video? Wait, will this have a bad end? Oh no, my friends, this is not looking good. My friends, stay with me, leave me a like if you still believe America can make a comeback.
Joint Base Lewis McChord outside Tacoma, Washington is hit hard, losing airstrip capacity for hours. The port of Seattle is rocked by 3 precision strikes. A massive explosion ruptures the I-5 corridor just south of downtown, sending an overpass crashing onto the freeway. Drone swarms launched from submarines and container ships descend on Seattle's tech district and emergency response centers. In total, roughly 30 enemy missiles hit U.S. soil. The damage is significant. An oil refinery burns, radar systems are temporarily blinded, and communications are strained. But the strategic surprise fails. Key American assets are still standing, and the defense establishment is already adapting.
Okay.
Day 0, 5:30 a.m. Eastern. U.S. Northern Command, U.S. Northcom, based in Colorado Springs, takes the reins. DEFCON levels are raised to DEFCON 1, the highest level of alert, never before reached in U.S. history. Combat air patrols begin orbiting critical locations: Washington, D.C., New York City, NORAD, Silicon Valley, and nuclear missile fields in the Midwest. But now all
the Midwest power, feel the corn power, my friends.
Eyes are on the Pacific Northwest, where the 7th Infantry Division, 1st Corps Headquarters, Air Force units at Joint Base Lewis McChord, and a few Army Special Forces teams are all that stand between the enemy and everything beyond. Backed by assets from nearby naval air stations, it is a thin line of defense, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Reports confirm that the combined Chinese-Russian force has landed at Elliott Bay in Seattle, with amphibious armor rolling off converted cargo vessels under drone and missile cover. Russian Spetsnaz teams in disguise, already pre-positioned, initiate sabotage on bridges and ports. A Chinese carrier task force has pushed into the Eastern Pacific, supported by long-range bombers and destroyers fanning.
No way, this video is fake. How the hell the Chinese Navy is already here, my friends? America have like 11 aircraft carriers and stuff like that. What is going on? What is going on, my friends?
Southward toward California. The strategy is a classic bite and hold. Seize a key urban center, deny the U.S. access to the Pacific, and use the chaos to push for a negotiated endgame, all before the full weight of American firepower shows up to ruin the plan. Coast Guard cutters and naval littoral combat ships surge toward coastal defense positions. Meanwhile, the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg and the 101st Airborne at Fort Campbell are placed on 4-hour standby. The president, speaking from a secure location, addresses the nation. #Attack on America and #World War III trend on social media within minutes. TikTok is—
Oh no, this, you know what, we tend to say, oh, this is World War III. And most of the time it's not, right? Not most of the time. All the time it's not, at least so far. But if they invade America, World War III will be a thing.
It's filled with footage of F-22s screeching over downtown Seattle and fires raging at the port before the cell towers go down. Day 0, morning. As daylight spreads across the U.S., military intelligence builds a clearer picture. The attack isn't just an act of terror, it's a campaign. A coordinated, multi-domain trans-Pacific operation aimed at toppling American naval superiority and establishing temporary occupation of U.S. soil. Enemy forces are launched from multiple platforms: submarines off the coast of Alaska, converted cargo ships near Hawaii, and mid-range bombers operating from the Kurils and Chinese-claimed islands in the South China Sea. There's even a diversionary attack across the DMZ by tens of thousands of North Koreans. Intelligence reveals that in the days leading up to the strike, the enemy orchestrated a massive series of diversionary exercises in the South China Sea and Arctic. They were all designed to pull U.S.
I'm not even joking, I'm getting a bit anxious, you know.
carrier groups away from the mainland. Simultaneously, waves of cyber attacks crippled early warning networks, disrupted satellite feeds, and jammed critical communications. American recon assets were briefly blinded, opening up a narrow window for the assault fleets to approach undetected. Early signs suggest that this new axis of upheaval has bet everything on seizing the Pacific and pushing American forces inland and fast. Despite the unprecedented nature of the attack, U.S. resilience holds. Continuity of government protocols activate. Secure networks reroute traffic. Critical command infrastructure deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain and Raven Rock remains intact. This will come back to haunt the invaders. Day 0, 12 p.m. Eastern. By the afternoon of the first day, the Pentagon
Who the hell are we still in day 0?
now sees the bigger play. Enemy amphibious forces have seized Seattle, and naval movements suggest follow-on targets could include the California coastline or Alaska. The Navy responds. Second Fleet races to reinforce the Atlantic coast against any secondary assault. On the Pacific front, the 3rd and 7th Fleets combine assets to initiate Operation Backtide, the campaign to eject Chinese and Russian forces from U.S. waters and prevent further landings. F-35s from carriers in San Diego repositioned to forward bases in Oregon.
Now we are talking the F-35s, my friends. The F-35s are here.
P-8 Poseidon submarine hunting aircraft fan out to sweep for the enemy's submerged assets. B-52s from Barksdale Air Force Base and B-1s from Ellsworth prepare for standoff strikes on suspected amphibious command vessels. On the
Where is the B-2? Bring the B-2 also.
coast, active duty Army and Marine units rush north to reestablish a perimeter around Seattle. Meanwhile, National Guard units in Washington, Oregon, and Idaho are activated to reinforce and evacuate civilians from projected fire zones. By the end of the
See, all of them, they have a gun. That's the thing about America. There is more guns than people. I don't know if this is fake, actually, but people tend to say this. Is this true, right? There is more guns than people in America?
first 24 hours, the battle for Seattle is raging. But the United States is not broken. The homeland has taken a hit, but not the kill shot. Day 1. By the end of the first full day of the attack, the
Even Uncle Sam is fighting.
United States shifts into an unprecedented defensive posture. The last time America geared up on this scale was after Pearl Harbor in 1941. But even that mobilization was for
And ask Japanese people what happened. I'm sorry. I end up going a bit crazy there. I want to apologize.
war overseas. Now Seattle is occupied.
Hiroshima, Nagasaki, do you guys know what I'm talking about?
The West Coast is bleeding, and the homeland itself is the primary theater. The president invokes the War Powers Act and declares a national emergency. All 50 state governors activate their Army and Air National Guard units. Nearly 325,000 Army National Guard soldiers and almost 105,000 Air National Guard airmen are called up, swelling the ranks of defenders. These citizen soldiers take up defensive positions guarding critical infrastructure, bridges, power plants, communication hubs, and government buildings. In New York City, guardsmen man sandbagged nests across key bridges. In Washington, D.C., additional barriers and checkpoints go up around the Capitol and Pentagon. But out west, it's different. The war is right outside. In Portland, troops dig in along the I-5 corridor. In Spokane, air defense batteries sprout around airports. From Eugene to Bellingham, everything is on the line. Seattle, still burning in places, is now a contested urban zone. Joint base
Seattle is gone, my friends. At this point, there is nothing we can do for Seattle. Let's try to save the other parts of the US. Seattle people, I'm sorry, you end up taking the first bullet. It is what it is.
Base Lewis McChord, battled by missiles on day 0, is under partial enemy control, and American units scramble to hold territory south of Tacoma. Civilian evacuations are ongoing, often under drone fire. The goal for the enemy forces is clear: dig in, disrupt reinforcements, and hold long enough to establish a logistical lifeline across the Pacific. The federal government seizes strategic industries under the Defense Production Act, redirecting fuel to military convoys, converting civilian airliners for troop transport, and shifting factories to round-the-clock munitions and drone production. Civilian air travel remains suspended. Officials are relocated to Cheyenne Mountain, Raven Rock, and other continuity of government sites. Congress meets via encrypted video link, half of its members framed by concrete walls and fluorescent lighting. Domestically, unrest flares near the attack zones. From Sacramento to Salt Lake, sudden waves of refugees test patience and supplies. Curfews are declared in 48 counties along the West Coast. Panic buying empties shelves across the West on a scale not seen since the toilet paper panic of COVID. Day 2. In America, 393 million citizens privately own firearms. Law enforcement
Yeah. So there is more guns than people, actually.
In America, 393 million citizens privately own firearms. Law
Yeah, try to fight with Ben. Yeah, this Ben is the name. Try to fight with him.
enforcement quietly coordinates with militias and gun clubs to create local quick reaction forces. The enemy has occupied one U.S. city, but the rest are loaded, locked, and spoiling for a fight. With the initial chaos contained, the military shifts focus to fortifying what's left of its beachheads. The top priority zones are the Pacific Coast, the Alaska-Aleutian Corridor, where Russian long-range patrols are actively probing U.S. defenses, and the southwest border. Intel warns of enemy-aligned paratroopers potentially slipping in through cartel-run smuggling routes. The Olympic Peninsula becomes a militarized zone, with coastal artillery batteries in place to deny naval access to Puget Sound. Navy SEALs and Marine Recon patrol the San Juan Islands, hunting enemy spotters and submersibles that may have dropped.
My friends, even the music ended up changing. I think we are so back right now. My friends, this is where the video becomes amazing.
Off saboteurs. The U.S. Marines string camouflage javelin and tow launchers along cliff faces, overpasses, and boardwalks. Helicopter units fly interdiction patrols up and down Highway 1, watching for infiltrators trying to outflank the main defense lines. It's rugged terrain, but nothing now is outside the realm of possibility. Major West Coast cities issue partial evacuation orders. Seattle is under duress, but now Los Angeles, San Francisco, and even Anchorage prepare for the worst. In the east, the 10th Mountain Division moved south from New York to reinforce the Carolina coast. The 82nd Airborne remains on standby, its paratroopers sleeping next to their jump bags waiting for the call, likely to Seattle, where every hour counts. By the end of day 2, over
So we are taking Seattle back. Okay, respect.
250,000 active duty troops are arrayed around U.S. coasts, supported by hundreds of tanks and armored vehicles in layered defensive belts. Eyes in the sky, AWACS, drones, and satellites knit together the battle picture. There is no surprise left. Now it's war. Day 3. While the battle for Seattle rages in the north, the enemy tests a new front. In the pre-dawn gloom, a second enemy amphibious task force attempts a diversionary landing near Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. The idea is to split U.S. attention, draw forces away from the main theater, and possibly seize a valuable target on the Central Coast. Fast attack craft and modified helicopters skim low over the water, racing toward the airfield, but this time U.S. forces are ready. Avengers and FIM-92 Stinger teams paint the sky with flaming streaks. Choppers spiral into the ocean. AC-130 gunships, protected on all sides by squadrons of F-35s, shred boats and commandos alike. On the sand dunes,
Where is the A-10? Bring, my friend, sorry, but bring the A-10 for this. He's such an amazing plane.
below, Army Rangers from the 75th Regiment lay in wait. The fight is brutal, intimate, and short. Dozens of enemy special operators hit the beach and are met by machine guns, mortars, and a wall of steel. The engagement lasts less than 2 hours. The survivors are zip-tied and medevaced out before sunrise. Enemy survivors are interrogated by Chinese-American students recruited from California's best colleges and reveal that Seattle is only the beginning. The plan is to fortify the city, reinforce it from the sea, and establish a long-term liberated zone meant to fracture U.S. logistics and morale. Smaller landings may continue to test the coast, but Seattle is the main effort. U.S. Northern Command reacts accordingly. The 1st Marine Division.
What's the name of this battle? Seattle Battle. This will go in the history books.
Repositions to the Los Angeles basin. The 3rd Infantry Division rolls west from Georgia, its tanks placed on rail cars and freighters. Meanwhile, air defenses tighten across the west. Patriot and THAAD systems ring Los Angeles and San Diego. Combat air patrols stack over the Pacific like a...
See, they are so ahead, they are doing fun, turning around and stuff. Just they are joking. Oh, we have a couple of minutes to destroy all of them. Just have some fun.
Giant spiraling corkscrew of steel. Carrier groups, USS Carl Vinson, USS Theodore Roosevelt, and USS Abraham Lincoln, fan out along the Pacific to intercept follow-on waves. 2 additional carriers
Yeah, I'm gonna say it again. What you gonna do when they come for you?
head toward Hawaii and Guam to cut off enemy reinforcements. Putting aside a recent spate of political squabbles, Canada is the first major ally to join the fight. CF-18s fly
Good Canadians.
combat air patrols out of Vancouver. NATO AWACS aircraft arrive from Europe to boost radar coverage. Japanese destroyers form a joint task force with U.S. ships to push eastward and begin clearing the Central Pacific. Over 500,000 American troops, active duty, guard, and reserve, are now deployed across the U.S., including all three.
To be fair, I think this video will be better if this was just America alone, just to see how powerful America could be.
Three Marine divisions and multiple armored divisions. Nearly 1,500 fighter jets dominate American skies, while over 100 Navy warships and 60 submarines form an iron wall around the continent. Missile defenses blanket key regions, and NORAD's integrated network ensures that any new threat is rapidly intercepted. The enemy's surprise has failed. The Seattle beachhead holds, but it is isolated, bleeding and crumbling under pressure. Reinforcements are cut off. Naval superiority
Get out of my face.
is slipping from their grasp. The bite and hold strategy is becoming a death trap. Day 3. Having blunted the initial attack and solidified the defensive lines around the West Coast, America's strategy
They may be saving the A-10 to the final strike.
pivots. It's time to hit back. The Seattle lodgment is holding for now. Enemy forces are isolated behind U.S. lines, hundreds of miles from reliable reinforcement. And out at sea, their plan is unraveling. The home turf advantage pays dividends. American logistics are humming. Railways, highways, and forward-deployed bases are feeding the front line faster than the enemy can react. The Russo
Working like a switch watch. Do you guys know that expression?
Chinese gamble now faces a brutal truth. Time and mass favor the United States. Drawing from the World War II Pacific playbook, the U.S. doesn't just aim to contain the threat, it aims to erase it and then turn the ocean into a graveyard for any follow-up force. Day
Oh. Turn the ocean into a graveyard? Oh my god, that was powerful. What?
faces a brutal truth. Time and mass favor the United States. Drawing from the World War II Pacific playbook, the U.S. doesn't just aim to contain the threat, it aims to erase it and then turn the ocean into a graveyard for any follow-up force. Day 4. At dawn on Day 4, America unleashes hell.
My friends, I was waiting for that one. The B2, I still believe the A10 may do an appearance, my friends, but the B2, my friends, now they are going to feel what alien technology feels like.
Day 4.
My friends, are you guys enjoying this video? I have to admit, I get a bit too excited, but if you like this type of reactions, leaving me a like makes me feel better that, you know, I overreacted, but it's fun.
4. At dawn on Day 4, America unleashes hell. B-2 Spirit bombers of the 509th Bomb Wing lift off from Whiteman Air Force Base. Their mission is to decapitate the enemy's floating command structure off the West Coast. The stealth bombers ghost across the Pacific, nearly invisible to radar.
What's the name of this one? Eh? The B-2 bomber? No, John Cena, because you cannot see him. Bad joke, sorry. Let's go.
West Coast. The stealth bombers ghost across the Pacific, nearly invisible to radar, before releasing precision JDAMs directly onto 2 Chinese and Russian command and control ships. Simultaneously, B-1B Lancer bombers from Dias Air Force Base swoop in low and fast.
Say that they are still having fun. Are you guys seeing this?
From the southern corridor, each
picture.
carrying a dozen LRASM anti-ship missiles. At a pre-programmed range, they unleash their payloads, sending dozens of autonomous sea-skimming killers racing toward enemy destroyers and troop transports. From beneath the waves, Virginia and Los Angeles-class attack subs, staged near Hawaii and the Channel Islands, fire volleys of Tomahawk cruise missiles.
Wait, there is a castle in what?
These strike not only naval
Oh my god, they have submarines that can jump out of the ocean.
and the Channel Islands,
Look at that.
fire volleys of
Look at
Tomahawk
that.
cruise missiles. These strike not only naval assets, but also the floating pontoon resupply bases the enemy had begun building to support their occupation of Seattle. Off the coast, the controversial, underperforming USS Zumwalt has its day in the sun, raining
Why? Controversial. Wait, this is not a good one?
down hypervelocity rounds on enemy ships attempting to sneak reinforcements
shooting a
toward
lot.
Oregon,
I like it.
obliterating the superstructure of a Russian landing vessel from 1,500 nautical miles away. The enemy is outgunned, outflanked, and increasingly out of options. By midday, the enemy Pacific Fleet is in shambles. Infrared feeds show ship after ship
And if America attacks AliExpress or Alibaba facilities, they don't have anything more because they buy the jets there.
The enemy Pacific
Someone should send an email to the US government telling them this. This is information that I own that I'm sharing with you.
fleet is in shambles. Infrared feeds show ship after ship burning, breaking apart or retreating at speed. An enemy aircraft carrier takes multiple hits and lists fatally, becoming a floating wreck. 2 transport ships carrying armor for a planned second landing near Coos Bay are vaporized before they reach landfall. By nightfall, the organized invasion is effectively dead at sea. Day 5. Despite the naval bloodbath, a
Day 5, I think like they are going to do a party or something.
desperate remnant of the enemy plan pushes forward. In a desperate bid to salvage their crumbling offensive, a reinforced enemy Marine brigade lands at Huntington Beach, just south of Los
They don't learn. Humans are stupid.
Angeles. Before dawn, landing craft and low-profile armored hovercraft churn through the surf under covering fire. Explosions rake the boardwalk. Hundreds of enemy troops spill onto the sand, overrunning a beachfront hotel and hoisting their flag over its shattered balcony. Civilians scatter under gunfire as drone footage captures the eerie sight of foreign armor crawling down Pacific Coast Highway. For a few chaotic hours, it looks like the enemy might carve out a second beachhead. But the illusion of success vanishes by midday. The 1st Marine Division, based just 60 miles south, surges into action with the California National Guard at their side. M1A1 Abrams tanks slam into the invaders from the north, while Army Stryker brigades close off escape routes from the east. Apache helicopters hover low, raining down Hellfire missiles as AC-130 gunships orbit above. By nightfall of Day 5, the Huntington incursion is crushed. A few desperate holdouts hole up in parking garages and a Target store, but Marine fire teams sweep them up by morning. Drones broadcast footage of disarmed, zip-tied prisoners slumped on the boardwalk. It's the first time a foreign ground force has flown its flag over a major U.S. city since 1814, and it lasted less than a day. Day 7. With the homeland secured, the gloves come off. The Pentagon finally unleashes the remainder of Operation...
Wait. George Bush is back?
With the homeland secured, the gloves come off. The Pentagon finally unleashes the remainder of Operation Backtide, a full-spectrum offensive to destroy the enemy's ability to ever attempt such a campaign again. Ohio-class submarines hidden deep in the Pacific and Atlantic receive their launch orders. From undisclosed locations, they ripple fire over 400 Tomahawk missiles at naval bases, radar arrays, and airfields across the enemy coalition's Pacific launch zones. Military ports in the South China Sea, Siberian Far East, and select bases near Vladivostok vanish beneath plumes of white-hot precision fire. Simultaneously, B-52 Stratofortresses operating from under fire bases in Guam, Diego Garcia, and Barksdale Air Force Base conduct long-range bombing missions. They release not only conventional ordnance but leaflet bombs, rebooted PSYOP classics warning enemy civilians of what their leaders have unleashed and urging them to surrender. U.S. Cyber Command goes on the offensive. Entire enemy grids blink out. Trains stop.
I'm actually crying. I'm not even joking. The video, to be fair, the video did, my friends, this video deserves a like because did a great job. At the start, I thought, wait, what if they conquer America or something? But all of a sudden, nope.
Aircrafts are grounded. Communication systems go dark. American-backed insurgent groups within the enemy's borders suddenly come alive with newfound support. Meanwhile, U.S. Special Operations Forces clean up the remaining threat vectors. Navy SEALs sweep through the San Juan Islands and Olympic Peninsula, flushing out embedded enemy forward
Navy SEALs? Okay.
observers. In Alaska, Army Special Forces conduct high-altitude insertions to eliminate surviving Spetsnaz teams hiding in mountain outposts. The tide of war has fully turned. The Seattle front has
If you pay attention, they don't mention Texas because Texas does not even need the military. They alone, they protect the state. Yeah.
has been isolated and rendered unsustainable. Reinforcements are not coming. Ammunition is running dry. Aerial resupply is impossible due to American air dominance. Enemy units begin to surrender in small groups. Others fortify for what they know will be a massive combined arms assault in the days ahead. Behind the scenes, U.S. officials communicate a quiet but unyielding ultimatum to the aggressor nations through neutral intermediaries. Surrender or risk annihilation. The U.S. nuclear
I was thinking, where is Uncle Sam? Uncle Sam is back.
arsenal remains untouched but unmistakably ready. Week 2. With the West Coast stabilized, the Seattle invasion contained, the United States pivots into the next phase: sustained defense, overwhelming industrial mobilization, and the methodical dismantling of any remaining threat. The homeland still bears the scars of invasion: bombed ports, burned bridges, bullet-pocked storefronts. But now it's about keeping the initiative and grinding the enemy into submission. Seattle remains contested but surrounded. Joint Base Lewis McChord is under U.S. control again, and cleanup operations sweep through Tacoma's industrial zones. But America's defense planners aren't taking any chances. Fortress North America becomes a reality. Thousands of troops reinforce Guam, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico, ensuring no follow-up strike can threaten American logistics again. The Panama Canal, critical for shifting carriers between the oceans, is placed under U.S. military protection, with full Panamanian cooperation. Surveillance assets are deployed throughout the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, watching for any surprise sub-launched attacks or rogue infiltration units. The Rio Pact is activated. Canada, already all in, reinforces Vancouver and Nova Scotia. Mexico deploys elite counter-cartel troops to secure its northern border and cooperate with U.S. units in California.
My friends, with Canada fighting with America right now, we are 1% stronger. Let's be real.
Repelling enemy infiltrators. Brazil and Colombia offer basing rights for reconnaissance flights and naval refueling. On the home front, the Space Force begins to prove its worth. Quick-launch surveillance satellites replace those lost in the early ASAT attacks. GPS and comm satellites are hardened and monitored 24/7. DARPA's satellite-hopping prototypes are accelerated. An entirely new layer of resilience now orbits the Earth. Along U.S. coastlines, a mesh of over-the-horizon radar and aerostat blimps stretches from Baja to British Columbia. The Civil Air Patrol and private drone enthusiasts patrol the skies. Local sheriffs coordinate boat owners for low-tech coastal surveillance. America's so-called weekend navy of retirees and fishermen. It's a total defense, total effort. Week 3. Backed by the full authority of the Defense Production Act, America's industrial might kicks into high gear. Detroit retools overnight. F-150s pause. In their place are Strykers, Humvees, and Abrams parts. Boeing shifts its commercial production to stealth drones and strike packages. Lockheed's facilities now run triple shifts, with F-35s rolling out in numbers that would make Cold War planners weep with joy. Shipyards in Virginia, Maine, and Mississippi roar to life. Crews sleep in tents beside dry docks. Every damaged cruiser, destroyer, and littoral combat ship from the Seattle theater is repaired or refitted on the East Coast, still relatively untouched by the enemy. New hulls are laid down in weeks, not months. Even older mothballed ships are reactivated under a modernized Victory Fleet program, equipped with modular missile pods and AI-based threat tracking. The Selective Service is
They are going to put ChatGPT on those.
quietly reactivated. Draft notices don't go out broadly yet, but specialists are called. Linguists, cyber experts, mechanics. Still, volunteer enlistment skyrockets.
Texans.
Boot camps overflow. Veterans re-enlist. Energy and agriculture stay stable, thanks to the geographic luck of an intact homeland. There is no
Meanwhile, they are still eating brisket.
famine or fuel shortage, but Americans willingly shift into war mode. Fuel is rationed, lights dim earlier, Victory Gardens sprout in the suburbs. Meanwhile, the Pentagon's black budget labs go white hot. DARPA rolls out deployable microdrones for urban surveillance. AI-powered threat assessment tools are tested in live scenarios around Seattle. Prototype loitering munitions see field trials outside Tacoma. Small, smart, and deadly accurate. Silicon Valley, mostly spared from the early missile strikes, shifts gears too. Tech bros become digital defense contractors overnight. Logistics AIs are spun up to route supply chains with precision. Coders rewrite battlefield communication systems on the fly.
Hey, Russia and China, great idea. You guys made America even stronger. Awesome. Oh, actually, I'm proud to be an American because at least I know I'm free. But I don't forget.
Cybersecurity firms swarm every U.S. network like white blood cells. And the world has seen enough. NATO Article 5 has been fully activated. UK warships join U.S. carrier groups in the Atlantic, chasing down
the party's over, but said it.
what's left of the enemy's transoceanic support flotilla. German and French fighters rotate through Iceland and Nova Scotia. Polish troops redeploy and train alongside Americans in the Indo-Pacific, preparing for expeditionary joint.
They never show my country in this type of stuff. It's Spain. Always appears. Damn it.
missions. In the Pacific, Australia and Japan become strategic linchpins. Australian F-35s fly long-range patrols over Micronesia. Japanese destroyers team with U.S. 7th Fleet assets to wipe out remaining enemy submarines near the Kurils and Taiwan Strait. Global sanctions obliterate the invaders' economic lifelines. Even formerly neutral nations freeze trade, expel diplomats, and join in coordinated cyber and financial strikes. In the enemy's capital cities, empty store shelves and rolling blackouts cause unrest. The war they thought would break America is now breaking them. Week 4. Back home, life finds its new normal. Schools reopen with armored buses and
Basically 1 month after this, yeah, we are back, and guess what? We are stronger than ever. We have, instead of 11 aircraft carriers, now we have 20, and nothing, basically. I mean, Seattle, a couple of laws, but let's be real, nothing happened, really.
and emergency drills. College students stream into ROTC programs. National holidays now come with speeches and flyovers. The war has become a part of daily life, but it hasn't crushed it. If anything, it's clarified what matters. Despite growing confidence, U.S. defense planners remain on high alert. Intelligence suggests the enemy may attempt a rogue special operations mission or even a retaliatory missile strike out of desperation. Patriots, THAADs, Aegis Ashore batteries, and NASAM systems ring every major city. Israel shares Iron Dome technology. DC alone has more firepower aimed at the sky than many entire countries. Northern Command initiates mass casualty preparedness drills in every state. Hospitals expand surge capacity. Emergency communication networks are stress tested. And in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle remains a priority. It's still not completely cleared, but fully surrounded, under constant surveillance and undergoing phased liberation one block at a time. The only thing not returning to normal is the defense posture. That's permanent now. Fortress America has emerged not just as a doctrine, but a reality. End of week 4. A month into the...
Sorry, this video is awesome. Golfem all of a sudden is out of retirement.
enemy's ill-advised experiment, American forces are still surging outward. Supply lines are humming. Allies are aligning. The war may still have chapters left, but the strategic trajectory is no longer in doubt. Whatever comes next, be it negotiations, collapse, or deeper conflict, the United States now dictates the pace. Its enemies are reeling and retreating. The bite and hold invasion of Seattle was supposed to shock the world, and it did, but not how the aggressors imagined. Instead of breaking America's will, it reignited it. Instead of fracturing the alliance system, it unified it. The enemy fleet was shattered, their elite forces overrun. Their attempt to hold U.S. territory lasted 6 days, and it ended with zip-tied soldiers in the surf. In military parlance, it was a decisive strategic failure. Now,
honestly, this is ending. I will say a couple of things at the end.
I'll go check out USA and NATO for...
it's ending. Okay, my friends, this USA and NATO versus Russia and China. But this is not invasion. You know what? I want to watch that. My friends, this is for the ones that watch until the end. Specific number today. 1. If I should watch that. Because if you guys leave a lot of number 1s, I will do it. That way I also know you end up watching until the end. That said, this may be my favorite video ever about the US military. I know it's a bit different, but I end up laughing so much, my friends. After the first, let's say, 10 minutes or something, things really become crazy. Wow, what a video. My friends, thank you so much for watching this with me. It really means a lot. I love all of you. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. Bye.